Hello and a very warm welcome to Rising Stars. I'm Vikram Oza. Now, many have spoken about the potential of the jewellery market in India and how that can be a great driver of exports. But for the most part, that sector has remained largely unorganized. Standardization has remained a distant dream, even though players like Tanishq, at least when it comes to real jewellery, they've changed the game slightly, and GST, of course, has helped their cause as well. But today, on Rising Stars, we're putting the spotlight on a retail and online fashion jewellery portal that has also gone offline. It started in the year 2012. We're talking about Voylla. It also has this offline retail presence in more than 250 stores, we understand. To tell us how the business is shaping up, we have Vishwas Shringi. He is founder and CEO of Voylla. Great to have you with us, Vishwas.
Same here. Thank you.
Yes. Do tell us about the jewelry business, how you thought of setting this up. The business, I understand, is based in Bangalore, right?
So we started in Bangalore. Actually, I moved back in 2012. And this particular category caught my eyes because few personal experiences that I had, I realized there wasn't like one place to buy variety.
Right.
And at that point, Amazon, Flipkart, none of the, marketplaces were doing this particular category.
Fashion
eBay was
jewelry.
Fashion jewelry. And eBay was the only one. But they were also, not doing it the way this category deserve attention. It's a very personalized category.
Yes.
People would want to, see
because
all
of the
sort
impact of
images.
Bollywood, what you're
Impact of
seeing on
Bollywood.
TV shows, on serials.
So quickly when I ran the number and I moved from the US, the first thing was to understand how big the business could be, right? And when I ran the numbers, I realized that it would be soon $2 billion market in the domestic, sector. But when I saw there wasn't even a single player who actually would have even a % of that market segment share.
At that time?
At that time. And I could not even recollect a brand.
Right.
So first of all, the first question that came to my mind was, if someone had to take couple % point, what does that mean, right?
Okay.
And that's a sizable, category. Then the second thing is that why this category could never emerge as basically a brand. I paralleled this with precious jewelry segment. As you mentioned a couple minutes ago,
Yes.
that Tanishq actually changed the game.
It did, indeed.
Well, before Tanishq, if you see how my parents bought jewelry, they would go to the neighborhood store and the local.
Absolutely.
And then
some of
Tanishq
them would come home and they would make it for you, and
True.
that's how the market had been.
True.
But so when you talk about fashion jewelry, that was a different kettle of fish, something that hadn't been tried out. To
True.
create a brand within that,
True.
how difficult was that entire process, or to convince even people to come on board with funding?
Yeah. Well, see, first of all, brand is nothing but set of core values that you deliver to the consumer, right? In this category, I think three most common principles that someone would look at. One is the design element,
Yes.
right? There was a time when this category was called imitation jewelry.
Yes.
The reason was because people who could not afford the gold or precious jewelry would actually buy a look-alike. So that's like an imitation of that.
That's
in
right.
Copper
What
and
was
brass.
famously called American diamonds
American
at that time.
diamond at that time, yes. Now, what happened is the youngsters, they realized that jewelry is not just gold for them. Jewelry is more about how they accessorize themselves.
That's right.
So the demand for a better quality product within this category emerged.
Right.
Now, it's no longer imitation of the gold, but it is like evolving into its own category, which is design-centric. In fact, funny enough that now precious actually is copied from the fashion jewelry.
Right.
So it's other way around imitation,
This
if you
is
see
true.
that, right?
Yeah.
So clearly from that perspective, it made sense to basically first have design as a core of this particular category.
And you kept that in-house?
That we kept in-house. We
Yes.
made sure that we design in-house, even though we have to, outsource the manufacturing.
Which is a lot of work.
Which is a lot of work, for sure. But again, that is your IP at the end of the day.
Right.
The second thing was basically to make sure that the quality remains intact. Why quality? Because there was big stigma that, imitation jewelry caused allergic reaction.
Yes.
There was primarily because uses of nickel and lead in the product, which enhance the shining or the life of the product. There are basically other ways to do it, but that make the product more expensive.
But on that point, I want to ask you, because when you are going to move away from how fashion jewelry was traditionally done and try and improve its quality, it means that the cost is going to go up. And for people to get convinced on a higher cost for something that was imitation jewelry or fashion jewelry now, that was always a big ask. How were you convinced that that was going to work?
True. See, fundamentally, I think people are willing to pay price for the quality, right? You can actually get something for 100 rupees also. But if it's a poor quality product and you get a good quality product in 300-400 rupees, it's still affordable.
Sure.
You are willing to pay 300-400 rupees. When
But
you know
yours
the difference.
is in the 700 rupee category online, and it goes up to 1400 offline.
Yeah.
Now that is a higher ask. What kind of success have you had with that kind of strategy?
True. That is also because in offline, people are willing to buy more because they are able to see the product. Online is primarily discount driven, right? So if you see the cycle of the product, people would actually, so we also get bill values in 40-50 grands. People are actually paying that much amount to buy the bridal sets at one go.
Offline?
Offline.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right. So because the same thing in precious would cost at least 10-15 lakhs.
But is that comparison still being made, or is this, like you said, a category in itself? Because this is going to determine the growth of your business and how you're going to approach it here on.
True. So I think this category itself is opening up that way, right? People, like 4-5 grand is very affordable, right? So starting from couple hundred rupees, which are basically your staple earrings that people would buy, to basically a more refined design in necklace sets, it become more expensive. And if you were to buy a bridal set, that will go like 20 to 30 grand.
But private labels in the retail space attracts margins of roughly around 60%. Is that something that you work with as well?
It actually comes around that much.
Yes.
See, the bigger thing that we have to see in this category is actually the labor cost that drives whatever price that it drives. Because of the design-centric nature of it, there's a lot of work. The metal cost is actually nothing. Unlike precious, as you see, precious is the metal cost, right? It does actually command that kind of margins for a variety of reasons, because there is basically no salvage value of this category. Right? Fundamentally, if you are not able to sell something, it actually is going to be dumped. You don't have any value of the metal that is used.
Oh, absolutely.
In the gold and silver, that's a different thing. So that's the reason their margins are very thin, here margins are higher. Because pretty much whatever you're not selling is waste.
And to expand your business, you're going through the franchise route now. So I'm seeing your online presence and your offline presence. So what's the scalability that you have, and how are you placed on the funding front, considering that you have had a good amount of money come in, 100 crores recently?
100 crores plus
that has would have helped you expand the business. But now how do you kind of track the next level of growth?
So see, fundamental thesis of raising such a large amount was also to expand fast in the offline space. In last 2+ years, we have opened 200 retail touch points. And we clearly see the opportunities to get 500 locations in the retail space itself. I think India actually demand that much, from this category and more. Now, to grow faster, there are only 2 levers that you have to have. You need to spend money in capex to erect the shop. For that, you need to raise money. Or if you want to do it through another route, which is the franchisee route, then that is actually another way of expanding faster. But for any brand to have any interest from franchisee, you need to have good presence and good brand recall. Fortunately for us, 150 locations was something that we did ourselves. So we were there in the market, right? Our brand recall comes from the fact that every single mall that someone would have gone to, they would have seen Voylla there. So once they see Voylla, their interest goes, and they are also able to see that we are present across 200 locations. So if they go online and try to do the store search, they would find it.
They'd find you over there as well. So the omni-channel presence is important, and that's something that you'll have to build. But of course, there's going to be competition that's going to be biting at your feet. And as I see more brands and more organization coming into that entire sector to stay ahead of the curve, and like we've discussed offline as well, about your first mover advantage, to maintain that, we'll need added gusto. We wish you great luck on this journey, Vishwas Shringi.
Thank you very much.
Of you to have come across and discuss this with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. And of course, our journey to meet more entrepreneurs here on Rising Stars continues. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.